The movie club movie. The movie club movie. It's the movie club movies. I'm JustinJustin, back for another one as we hit the mean streets of the West Coast, the meanest machine you've ever seen. Corvette Summer, Summer of Corvette, or Stingray. We're hitting our stride as we move through the middle of the summer, and around this time, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are thinking about summer movies or summer blockbusters, or just movies in general, going to the theater. And as we've had a lot of time to do personal research and read and think about things in this post 2020, I have thought about summer movies and blockbusters and going to the theater a lot. And it always makes me think of sort of the marketing focus of getting people into the seats. And I've listened to a lot of good podcasts from the Movie Club movies, from the We Hate Movies podcast, How Did This Get Made podcast, Action Boys podcast, Griffin over at Blank Check. These are really good podcasts, and they do really good episodes covering movies that come out in the summer, and either they're covering that in the summer, or of course they've covered it and it's in their catalog. But as you listen along to a lot of those eps, maybe you're thinking some of the similar things. What about the times when you just need to go to the movies to get off the hot streets, to get into some AC, to get a cold cola of your choosing? Isn't that some of the focus of putting out some of these movies? Like, I think a key one that is like the Jay-Z blueprint of summer blockbusters is the first and only, as I am concerned, Independence Day, ID4 with Will Smith. That came out and just blazed the summer. I think Men in Black came out first, and we know, well, I guess if you're of a certain age, you do know that Will Smith held the summers down for a grip of years. And I always put up there, Jay-Z was doing the same thing. I'm actually thinking that Steven Spielberg had a hand in the, I guess, new design of going to the movies that has continued today, even with, especially with Marvel movies, although we are splitting up into watching those at home. But mega movies still come out, and mega movies with mega plot holes and things that you just don't understand why they're in the movie happen. But if we don't heckle them and pick them apart on a movie podcast, like How Did This Get Made does, or the Movie Club movie nights, the showings, everybody was always welcome to leave their comment as the movie was going, or during the snack time, or before, whatever you had to say. I mean, that's what's fun, and that's what's fun about blockbusters, and my choice in particular, movies that come out in the summer. Does anyone else agree? I mean, it's just a great time. If you need to get into some AC, go see the Spider-Verse, go see a Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. Steven Spielberg, I think, made it an event to go to the movies, especially in the summer when you could tell your friends, or you were with your friends, or again, you were out doing something, because it's easy to get restless in the heat, or in the long amounts of sunshine we're getting. And summer movies were supposed to give you a roller coaster, a seat, AC, and like we said, a cold cola. There's cold cola in today's movie. Don't you forget about it. But more importantly, are the something sugary or something salty, and escape. Talk with a friend before or after, bring a friend, elbow nudges in between. I know, like, movies like Bad Boys 2, 3, 4, 5. I know other movies like um, the Fast and Furious franchise. These are movies that really welcome a shout here and there. I cannot believe, what are you talking about? Or like what I was throwing out at the newest Fast and Furious was, why are they in this? Where's the rest of the crew? Where's Han? Where's Roman? What's that powder? Those type of things. Eric Siska says he'll bring his best buds, Dr. Pepper, and some popcorn. And I agree. And we can even get to a concession concern. Dr. Pepper could be added to that list easily. But that's another segment. Summer blockbusters. Have you ever been in a theater where the lights cut out, or sorry, the lights come on too early, or the AC cuts out? Have you ever gone back to the same movie to just get more AC, or to see it with the friends that just keep adding on? I think Black Panther was a movie like that for me. Saw it a couple times because I saw it alone. Saw it with a friend. Someone else said, I haven't seen it yet, and you end up seeing it again. And it's a blockbuster. Prime time. Black Panther, one of the best. A few weeks ago we were talking about Get Out. That was a huge movie with a huge release. And Jordan Peele's follow-ups, Us, and most recently Nope, which we even talked about in that episode, that it's happening in a major sunny place, in a major sun-bleached scenery. And I found that fascinating, and of course it added to the drama and the atmosphere of that movie, Nope. And Independence Day, Will Smith punches out the alien. He's out in the desert. I thought about Jaws so many years ago. I caught the first scene, of course. And in that scene, it's actually really dark, and it's sort of bouncing back and forth from a bonfire with a bunch of buddies, like co-eds, I guess you would say at the time. I'd love to cover Jaws. It's obviously like a masterpiece and a classic. That's beyond the movie club movies, but it is such a good movie and a good rewatch. But there's an intro or the intro scenes and the cold open or so. But anyway, of skinny dipping, and you don't see much, but it does happen. They're skinny dipping, and I don't want to spoil it, but a shark attack happens in that scene. Later in the movie, Roy Scheider and his wife have a realistic moment, so to say, and they say, want to get drunk and fool around? And I think that is the most sexual Steven Spielberg has ever had in a movie that I can think off the top of my head. I mean, I know that Indiana Jones has some romance, but just kind of like winking to your partner and saying, you want to go fool around, doesn't happen too often in anything Steven Spielberg touches, outside of maybe the Transformers. And I don't want to fall down this rabbit hole, but a lot of my podcasts bring up just the idea of like Marvel movies, Fast and Furious, and I guess maybe the Michael Bay, the Transformers, the Spielberg verse isn't very sexual and isn't very affectionate in terms of physical affection. And lust, I guess, is another big word. But we're sort of um, leaving the summer theater. We're losing the AC. Let's bring it back. I just love a good summer blockbuster. And, I think I've already mentioned a bunch in the previous episode. We're going to cover a little bit more in these summer episodes. And today's is still another good one. It's actually uh, a really early one. It might even be one of the earliest movies we'll cover for a good amount of time. It's from 1978, but it is about a summertime adventure, and it feels very hot. And like I mentioned, there is cold cola in this movie, and it makes you want to have a cola, makes you want to have a burger or hot dog at your local theater. And I think that's important for a summer movie to have those elements in the movie. Have a burger joint, have a drive-in, have a skateboarder going up and down a street, have a slushie in someone's hand, go camping out in the backyard and talk about how hot it is. Because I think that's what a lot of us were doing in the golden times of our lives, the salad days, and also during true blue summer times. Barbecues, fun with your partner, fun with your mates, running around. Another thing about movies being roller coasters is that these plot holes I love to laugh about, and the different elements of maybe a mistake in editing, or these questions we have after we've watched the movie 10 times. But that's the great thing, and they can take us on a ride. They do usually follow a formula, and that might be thanks to Steven Spielberg. But we're going to hit our stride, call to adventure, some sort of pinnacle or climax. There's going to be tension. We're going to have fun. There might be loss. And we're going to come back on around to what is really interesting to our characters and what's really exciting to us viewers. That could be like a band, a dance, a wedding, a big feast, just trying to make it to a party to see your partner or to connect with your partner, or just the ideas of these things as you discuss them with friends, like in the movie Stand By Me by Stephen King, or written by Stephen King, pardon me. That's a great summer movie. That's a dark summer movie, but isn't it an interesting movie that it contains darkness while it continues to focus on such a bright, young futures and young past of, I think that's happening in the 50s, but it's all, the leads are younger actors, but they're discussing dark times, and there is a lot of tension, there's bullying, and there's call to adventure. And heroes emerge. Growth happens in that movie. And we can also have scary things, like we talked about Jordan Peele's features. And it would be neat to continue to see his releases if they happen to happen in the summertime. I could find that pretty interesting. What about all the camp slashers that happen? I'd have to really do some finger tapping research to find out how many of those Jasons and Freddys were released in the summertime. I bet it bounces back from October to like the August and July, if at all. That's another good thing we're going to cover here shortly. Camping features. Let's move on. The actress Michelle Yeoh, I've been able to focus on a short list of her movies, and I've watched a few. She's got such a large catalog. Not everything is available, and I feel like I didn't see everything on the IMDb's or the letterboxes, and I was able to catch on to some of my favorites. I really like the uh, James Bond movie she's in, and a I don't know, like I guess it's obscure, um, but it's called Silverhawk, and I think it's based off of a TV show. It came out in the U.S. in 2004, but she's a motorcycle riding superhero, and it's really interesting movie. You know, it's I don't know, like lo-fi. I don't even think they were able to make a decent transfer of it. I own it, and I keep thinking like I bought it too early or something. I should have waited for the Blu-ray. I don't even have a Blu-ray, but maybe I just would have liked to sit next to a higher quality transfer. But it's a real kick, and I don't want to just dwell on that movie. The James Bond movie she's in is a Pierce Brosnan James Bond, and that was sort of my favorite era because it was sort of coming out as I was growing up, and I always pictured that Pierce Brosnan was James Bond just by the way he looked, and I was young enough to just be, I guess, impressed upon. Tomorrow Never Dies came out in 1997, and you know she rocks a motorcycle in that movie too. But Michelle Yeoh is incredible, and I was watching her movies before her recent you know, Academy success and the bigger movies she's now dialing in on. And I'm so glad to have a sort of outlet in this podcast to share because she's been one of those actresses or actors on the top of my list, like the Rene Russos, like the uh, Robert Downey Jr.'s, and you know, even today's co-star, Annie Potts. Although Annie Potts, I don't think has to dig deep in a lot of her roles, like Michelle Yeoh and maybe a Rene Russo, and the Sharon Stones of the world. Actors that can play a star lawyer, a star victim, or a star judge. Right now, I just have a short list. Michelle Yeoh is number two. Not that I'm ranking, but my first was Carla Gugino, and you've seen her in Son-in-Law, Sin City. She's done sort of a series of movies with her husband, who's a director, but she's also in American Gangster. And if you think about like My Cousin Vinny, the movie, and the courtroom that's going on there, which is a little bit comical, but she could be in that courtroom as the judge, as the lawyer, as some sort of victim, and even I feel like in a more serious role. I mean, she's in American Gangster, which has a very short court scene that sort of happens a few times as that plot moves forward, but I think that she could be I don't know if she's kind of the victim. She's just sort of battling a marriage in that. Um, but if she's the victim in that, then she could be the judge, and she could have been Russell Crowe, and Russell Crowe could have been defending himself. Why didn't Carla Gugino go after Denzel in that movie? Anyway, Michelle Yeoh is also one of those actresses or actors, because right now I just have those two, and they happen to be actresses. I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on who do you think could cover star lawyer role, star victim role, star judge role, or strong supporting is really maybe interchangeable with that. We can all agree that handful of examples is pretty smart, pretty strong list of skill and talent, and a lot of good movies. I mean, I could keep talking about them now, but that's not what I wanted to do. Let's segue into Ask Elle. Ask Elle. Ask Elle. G-Wagon, 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 G-Wagon. Elle, have you ever seen any good camping movies? I've got a few examples. The Great Outdoors is probably an easy one, although they're sort of in a cabin during that movie. But what about The Last Starfighter? Which isn't the best movie, but he's trying to get to a camping situation with his friends and with his partner. I also think that Marty McFly, who's going to get mentioned a lot in this podcast, uh, I'm just going to have to reference him almost every episode, or the adventures he goes on. But in Back to the Future, isn't he hoping for that truck or for the family car to go on a camping trip with his partner? Good questions. Maybe Elle can get back to us and, I don't know, give us some more flicks to watch. Elle, tell us more about camping vids, camping moves, the next time you talk to us. Thanks. The Movie Club movies. Today's feature. Corvette Summer, 1978. It's starring a young Mark Hamill, Annie Potts, Brion James, Dick Miller. Know those names. Those are good ones. Brion James we know from the original Blade Runner, and he's also in so many movies. You might trip up and not realize he's in the movie you're watching or the movie we cover or conversate about, but he's actually in a, it's no longer recent, but I feel like he had a whole lifetime of a career before he was in The Fifth Element as like just the high stakes general or something. But he's sort of classic for the movie Blade Runner, Tango and Cash, 48 Hours. He's in Red Heat, which is a movie I kind of like to watch. Uh, he's in the sequel, Another 48 Hours. And he's in this movie that is very odd, very obscure. Like, as a kid, no one had ever seen it. And it's like I had seen it on some sort of Sunday afternoon, but Enemy Mine. He definitely is always this guy who's like, I don't know, he's the henchman, he's a soldier, he's the guy in the locker room with the other guys, he's the guy in the police office with the other guys, he's the criminal in the office with the other criminals. In today's movie, there's no spoiler, but he's a henchman. But man, he is dressed all out 70s, and he gets to drive an all out 70s Corvette, which is incredible. Dick Miller is infamously famous for the Gremlins. Oh my gosh. And Joe Dante is the director of Gremlins. And I'm sure there's more to this, but they worked well together, and Joe Dante made sure to have him in all of his features, as far as I have read. And he is also, maybe something you'll remember him in is The Terminator. He's the guy that owns the gun shop, and Arnold, as the Terminator, is approaching him to purchase various items, including something that would be from the future, as the Action Boys pointed out. Wait, if you're asking for a gun from the future, is something up with your programming? Because you know you're supposed to be disguising yourself as 1985 Terminator, so you wouldn't be asking for a future gun. Anyway, Dick Miller is the one that says, is the store owner that says, "What you see is what we got, pal," and then gets blown away, which is unfortunate because we all love Dick Miller. Let me throw out another one. The Burbs. He's in The Burbs as a small part garbage man and just has a comment about the cul-de-sacs. He's also in Small Soldiers, sort of like reprising a sort of Gremlins-esque, old, I don't know, old doer, just been there, done that sort of neighbor or such. Anyway, Dick Miller, he's also in After Hours, which is an incredible movie. I always suggest it. It's one of my favorites. Action Boys kind of covered it in their Patreon only bonus eps. Look into it to find out more info, because I also suggest the Action Boys. But I'm not going to push into anything. After Hours, great movie. Dick Miller, also in Corvette Summer. I don't need to highlight the star, the lead of this movie, Mark Hamill, plays Luke Skywalker in a movie called Wars of Stars, and you can do with what you want to with that. Let's move forward. he's very young in this, but let's move forward to his young co-star, Annie Potts, one of my faves. I loved her in Ghostbusters. She seemed to be on the television throughout my life. I feel like she did commercials when I was in my late 20s, and she's always in these great pockets of movies post Ghostbusters. This is something way before Ghostbusters, which is mind-blowing, and she is gorgeous. She is talented. She is coming into this movie and has to cover a lot of ground and actually has to read a lot of garbage, but you cannot take your eyes off of her character. She continues to be magnetic. That's why she's the secretary in Ghostbusters. There's no slam on that. She's probably she most likely is better in Ghostbusters than in this movie, but she's still slamming in this and has a really cool character if you can cut it down to what is really, really cool, and everything else seems really, really dangerous, and maybe her choices, I don't know, could be scaled back to obtain more of her goals and priorities in life. But I'm not going to go there. I mean, Luke Skywalker has his own troubles, and Kenny, played by Mark Hamill, has a carload of troubles in this flick that we're covering today. 1978, Summer of Corvette, Corvette Summer. One of the first times I ever saw this movie was really randomly, and I really enjoyed it first thing, but I did think it was wild. I was like, this is got a lot of cars, and this is a total 70s movie. It's coming out right before the 80s hit. I do feel like disco is happening, and they might be one of the last gasps to include that in their content. I think that Saturday Night Fever has come out in 77, 75. But if it's 77, then this is 78, and everything else that topples after that is just, I don't know, not late, but just becomes late to the punch, because as the 80s open up and the 80s get going, it's less about disco and more about that new wave synth, and I don't know, punk and rock and roll is coming back. And also just that fashion is leaving until the 90s when it comes back. And now the 90s is coming back again. So we're even kind of getting this like blousey top, butterfly collar, and bell-bottom or bell-bottom size bottoms. Mark Hamill plays Kenneth W. Dantley Jr. It doesn't matter his name. I don't know why we have that, but I'm going to say Kenny a ton of times. We're going to meet Annie Potts as Vanessa, and Dick Miller and Brion James are kind of like no names. So we're just going to continue from there. This movie opens up in a car graveyard, a scrap yard, and we are following a single file line of, I don't know, students. There's an overhead conveyor taking a scrap car to the smasher to be smashed. The single file line of students is being led by a coach-like teacher or supervisor. Let's call him Teacher Coach. They all seem to be adults, could be high school, could be community college. This is 70s actors, so they all look like they're 45, but they're probably true blue 18-year-olds or like 27-year-olds. Our hero, Mark Hamill, is Kenny. He's being the usual slacker, and he has a seat on an old car seat. Like a young slacker, he's losing energy, he's slightly bored, he's slightly frustrated. He takes a load off for a breather. You know how it is. When you're a teenager, like you are someplace, but you want to be someplace else, or you don't like that you're here with your goofball friends. You'd rather be working on a car. Well, something silver falls in front, and he takes a look. It's our other hero. It reads, Corvette. Kenny now begins to run, 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 run. He makes his way to the conveyors, the control panel. He pushes aside the service employee. That guy's getting paid like a dime and a quarter. He's getting pushed away by this little guy. He presses stop just in time for the Corvette. It was loaded into the Smasher, which is wild. It is like a compactor, but I'm going to call it a Smasher. And it's about to be smashed. Kenny saves it. We move on. We're seeing like a trailer attached to a Suburban, and it's being driven by a teacher coach. And we see, sitting cross-legged, our hero, Kenny, as if to provide emotional support, protection, or a sturdy defense from any takers-on of this gem of a junk heap. Did I mention Kenny is played by Mark Hamill? Okay, Mark Hamill and Kenny are one, and we are at their garage. Our story continues with building, rebuilding the Corvette. Mark Hamill is so small in this movie, but he is bringing a big performance. It is an over-the-top 70s, 80s VHS performance, which is for the compactor. However, he has risen to be a legendary star for a reason. He has a good touch for what he is in, or the scene he is in. And I think you guys could see that if you watch him, I don't know, like on like a TV show or some sort of cameo in a movie. I mean, of course, you know, he's probably reading trash lines, but like he's like aware of how things are operating. Is this goofy? Is this straightforward? Am I supposed to be a creep? I mean, he also does a ton of voiceover, which I would think that is a major skill to be valued, is to understand where you're at in the scene or movie when all you are is a voice, and maybe they've got a couple example sketches. I can imagine that's a lot of what's going on in voiceover. If you really want to dive deep and become a superstar there. It's beyond know your role. It's like know where you're at. And I mean, Dick Miller and Brion James, and even like a Bill Murray, if we're continuing on the references of Ghostbusters and the character actors I'm bringing up, knowing where you are, it's incredible. Yeah, we're really kind of back to his the place he stays at briefly, and he's waiting for his mom, and it's just kind of weird. But we move on to, he actually starts claying a model for this Corvette, which is sort of a toy Corvette, but it is cool. We start to see the process. He's welding, people are welding, they're rebuilding, working in the car. And I want to go on to say, like, watching the process of something being created in a movie, or something being created in a movie, is really fun and really exciting for me, and I do see it as something really dynamic when it is put there and filmed, and you know, I don't think that you get to see that as often as we used to. I think there's so many automated things, but what about, like, how do they create such a car? How do you model something, even if it's for art or for sculpture, in the general sense? I think shooting or showing the process of something also causes us, the viewers, to approach the movie. The movie becomes more approachable when you start to do things like that. And here we are in a 1978 film burner that is just like, I don't know, this movie's not for everybody. And, you know, it's not a heady type of movie. So we want to be welcomed into this world because it is a lot about cars and not truly all about the people involved. But here's our chance. We get to see people working on things, and We find out that Kenny's a D- student, but he builds a picture-perfect Corvette, which is actually a Stingray. I think he gets like a back panel that is a Stingray, and I couldn't really hear all the dialogue there, but I think that what they've done is they've been able to like get a part of a Stingray kit, and they are incorporating that this is now the Stingray version of a Corvette, which for 1978 must have been a really incredible car, because if you do get a chance to Google this, there's a ton of photos of this car. This car went on to a few more owners and displays, and also I'm sure it was hot for the time, so it was like recreated, and even there's a couple colors of this car in this movie, so I'm sure people just bought this car, reproduced this car, and chose the color of their interest. It's worth a look. Please Google it. But it's not an extensively long scene. It's probably less than 6 minutes long, but it's super interesting, like I said. Or it's interesting, it might not be super interesting. And the students do a lot of the rebuild, and we see many moments in over this 6 minutes or less. And actually, Kenny seems to be a loner. We see the students helping, but really we're focused on Kenny, and actually, Kenny is going ham on this car. And he's really, really pulled in by this. He's zoned in on this. But he's also the one that found it. So he's really, from the start, giving it his all. After he gets to leave the garage, he's really exhausted. Couples are kissing around town, and he's walking to like his Gosling-sized trailer park. However, it's kind of funny. Again, it's another weird scene, this trailer park origin of him. But he returns to the garage and the Corvette. So we're back to the garage after leaving it. And it's a late night cram session to complete this cherry. Coach Teacher is in a 007 white top tux for some reason. Andrew Jupin would say, or whatever, at this moment. Let's have a drink. You've got some mustard, kid. Ever think about going pro? Mark Hamill takes a drink of what's been poured, and he asks, is this wine? Coach Teacher's like, it's scotch. Okay, well, they've completed the whole Corvette, and it's a night out to roll the car on the local main street. Local main street, and shops and stores run the sides of the streets. A local movie theater makes an appearance. You can't see what movie's playing. I always like to see, like, what is it? Is it Rambo? Is it Rambo 3? What Hellraiser was being made at the time of this filming. It's just blurry. The streets are lit by the lights of these shops and the headlights, and that sort of continues. We've got Kenny driving, and Coach Teacher wants everybody to have a turn, and he's asking him to come back with it. He's got like a CB hooked up to his Suburban, like I mentioned before, and he is totally annoyed by all of these asshole kids. But he's got this CB, and he's like, Kenny, bring it on back now. Bring it on back. Everybody gets a turn. It's really funny to just that shot. And after asking him to come back with it, another student runs it up and down the street. Someone out of nowhere suggests get some cold sodas. And this is the street to do it, because there is a really, really sweet burger joint, and the kid goes in to get the sodas, and all of a sudden we see this young student lit with the shops and headlights from behind in the distance. He just says, they took the car. This is, I think, Danny Bonaducci, which I kind of only know that name, was always a name out there. This is an old enough movie where, some of these actors that might have gone on to bigger TV shows are in this. He's pretty young looking, but I think it's him holding the sodas. If you know him or you Google him, I bet he's up to some exciting stuff. But he's in this movie, and he's just got to add Maybe they towed it. It was in park. Kenny does not take this well. He wants to choke him out. There is a scuffle, but we fade out. We see a local police officer informing the students that these things usually never develop, and with the value, most likely the Corvette Stingray is already in pieces. Our hero Kenny cannot believe this explanation and has a different attitude. He is restless with the thought of having lost the Corvette for good. We have the meanest street machine on the West Coast! Next we see Kenny is working at a petrol station. This movie smells like a local bowling alley. Smoke driven deep into the felt flooring. Whirling lights and sounds of machinery still maintained, but long out of taste. Kenny has a desperate sign posted everywhere. On the pumps in the men's bathroom. In the pumps out in the station. Everywhere. Kenny looks bummed, desperate, embarrassed, low. We meet a traveling soap and bathroom rep. You know, he's kind of like a traveling salesman and maintains, you know, the liquid soap in the bathrooms and stuff. We see condoms in his trunk. He sees the Corvette pictured and mentions to Kenny that he has seen that car in Las Vegas. Call to adventure. Kenneth W. Dantley Jr. Kenny Gregory Wintmeyer Jr. says yes. We have to hitchhike to LV, and here we meet a couple lovable characters. Our first being Rico and his low-riding friends. What I think is they hit it off as friends, going 15 on the highway. 17 miles per hour? I don't think so. 15, my friend. Class. It's actually not Rico. I read that name, or maybe I overheard it or saw it on subtitles. When I looked up this actor, his name seems to be Tico, but I am not pulling this out of my butt. I think that they kind of like mumble his name, and some people are calling him Rico. Anyway, and I actually thought he was the name was spelled with 2 C's. So that kind of seemed really cool. But this character's name is Tico or Rico, and he's friendly, and he's rolling in a... We actually don't get too much detail of their car, but low riding, really badass looking cars, and they're completely detailed. They're, from what I saw, I think they're all convertibles. The one we're sitting in with Kenny and Rico is got a lot of like black or dark fur, and it's all detailed like I mentioned. And they hit it off as friends, but Kenny is a little bit annoyed or uncomfortable, and he's like, excuse me, 17 miles an hour, and Rico is like 15. Kenny, on the interstate, what are you doing? Looking for our contact lens? And then I don't want to repeat every word they're saying here, but Rico replies, quips back, and is like, you crack me up. Still doing your steed. Oh, I messed that all up. But let's bring it back. Rico, you crack me up. Still doing your speed number? Huh? And his delivery is really cool. He's just playing it by the numbers here. I like Rico, Tico. I call him Rico. He's a friend to me. Kenny continues and is like, well, what are you into? Miles per gallon? And this is key. Rico is like, class. We're into class. Rico's classy. And we like that for him. The actor's name is Eugene Ruiz as Tico. For some reason, though, Kenny is not feeling comfortable. He shakes a leg to wag a thumb and looks out again, because here is Annie Potts making her entrance in her detailed out van. Annie Potts as Vanessa, and I think someone says this, Van-Nessa. Kenny runs, run, 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 hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, run! Which is going to be a continuing theme for him. He gets to her van. She is doing her best Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours, singing with the headphones on as if no one is listening. I'm so charmed. Kenny takes a look around, and her car, I should say van, her life is stacked. Red velvet and fuzzy furry carpet and floor. Floor is... I messed all that up. Red velvet and fuzzy furry carpet and floor. Floor to walls, walls to ceiling. They seem to hit it off. I've said that before, but this time we're doing what? 45, 60? Although we go back and forth, Annie Potts is driving, and I believe it. She is really cruising. Everybody's drive acting is great. We actually, I'm not really spoiling it, but I guess a lot more of Mark Hamill's driving is done towards the end of this movie. Kenny doesn't do a lot of driving. His pals do. He does a lot of running. How about some cold ones? Luke has a Coke. Janine has a Coors. They pass Rico and will pull into nighttime Vegas, which is kind of a neat shot, but is just sort of a moving forward. They pass Rico, and Rico continues to just be going so cool, so slow, and they enter Vegas, twinkling lights and all. It's greasy, it's dark, it's nighttime, and Vanessa has to get ready and comes back. Disco. Kenny cruises around to see if he can find a stingray in the casinos, only to find no dice. We are actually in a casino, lights in a mirror-turning platform with some shitty car. I actually never remember this part. I thought for sure when I was beginning this episode that they didn't even shoot inside of a casino the entirety of the movie, which is only partly true. At this point, they do go into the casinos, and we see a sweaty Kenny walking around looking for this shitty car. And everybody's lurking. There are so many lurkers, at least maybe in the public areas that are happening right now. You know, everybody is a streetwalker, a worker of the night, a lurker of the night, con man, con women, con non-conforming, gender non-specific con, people making bread, people rolling dice, collecting dimes. I don't know. We don't see too much drugs in this movie, but they're out there lurking the streets of Vegas, and even indoor, it feels very sweaty. It feels very sauna-like in this Las Vegas casino we're actually shooting in. The lights are twinkling bright. It's very sweet and sweaty, but we see a shitty Chevy. So what is this guy to do? He is on track to track down this Corvette. And we're only seeing his, I guess it's an obsession. We're not really mentioning it's an obsession. It's obsession growing. And we are then stopped by a street con man. He wants Kenny to take a look at his female companion. I'm tongue-tied. Take a look at his female companion. She has a watch and necklace or ring. Take a look, pal. Are you interested? You want to pay for some jewelry on the streets of Las Vegas, which I don't know if it was much different than now, where like literally you could have gone 3 more feet and you could probably buy a candy bar, a platinum necklace, a crown. You could play a slot machine, you could probably eat and drink something and even maybe buy a jacket. And this guy's on the street telling you to look at his woman and check out her watch or whatever. I know better. Mark Hamill is getting his wallet taken. We continue for something to eat. A delicious burger joint. Looks so perfect. He orders, but finds he cannot pay. Is that Captain Ron? No, it's Dick Miller. He gambles on a coin toss from the burger server. He gambles on a coin toss from the burger server and wins. So he buys the burgers for his new pal Kenny and soda for Kenny, and then has a sweet moment in contrast to the con man. He gives Kenny some advice and a $2 bill and a $2 bill. We are rolling again. Back to the strip. Where should he stay or sleep during the night? A U-Haul trailer, of course. Have you ever seen such accommodations? It's such a, I don't know, it's like a television box size U-Haul trailer, one of the personal ones. I don't even know if college students use those to move anymore. They're very small. They probably just hold a TV and like a golf set. Mark Hamill gets in this. Later we see him with a radio, writing notes, writing a postcard. He's fully in this thing. Door closes. U-Haul rocks a bit. And I love those moments. It's like, did that really happen? Did they just allow it? Or did they plan for that? They understood the physics of a rental unit that's not meant to be stayed in or lived in whatsoever. But he stays there for the night. And I guess you have to be resourceful if you're hitting the streets. He's kind of taking his luck back to LA the next morning. He is picked up shortly by a shorty driving another cherry red coupe. Lots of red cars. And as he steps in, he steps out. He sees the Stingray Cherry passing him by. He continues to be a hot stepper, and guess what? He runs. Hurry up, run. He runs and runs to catch up with the Tomato Red Mean Machine. Tomato Motor. How about that? The Tomato Motor Red Machine. It'd be amazing to see Marty McFly sketching on Big Bob Gale's Jeep from Back to the Future. As we go by this local Vegas street, he hopped out of a stranger's car to run down the way to catch this stingray. And if you look up and down the other way after the vet, you just see such like localities. Again, I mean, I guess he came from a small town in Los Angeles or whatever, and we're here, and I don't know, at this point, maybe he's far enough from the strip that this is more of a local road, and it just reminds me of Hill Valley, or at least a corner of it, as Marty skateboards and then grabs the Jeep driven by a co-writer, Bob Gale, as he heads to high school for the day. Some would call that sketching. Come on, Sketch. He's running, and we get to a commercial sign graveyard, which is an incredibly great, fantastic location. Okay, if you're watching this location is just all you see is like fast food signs, like retired, or like used car signs, retired. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen such a thing or understood that it's just old signs are put there. Maybe they can be rented or fixed, refurbished, rebuilt. Not by Kenny, maybe by somebody else. But it's a really neat area. We've seen a car scrapyard the very first shot. We don't get as epic, but you can definitely see this location. You see about 3 of 4 corners of it, and it looks really cool, and it's one of the best um, uh, pitfalls he's running into, quite literally, to catch up with this Corvette. Um, and it starts us off with not missing many opportunities for creativity, and including ways to connect with cars and car cultures, like drive-ins, drive-throughs, used car lots, car signs in general. It definitely could be found in this location, and then you're going to follow along to see, they've gone to a burger joint, they've gone up and down a local street. This movie, in its faults, still does connect and not miss opportunity for creativity involving car culture, automobiles, and automobile culture. If you can check it out, it's pretty neat. By the way, check out my WHM podcast graphic in the style of Big Bob Gale's hat from Back to the Future on our TeePublic site, tpublic/users/TMCMS. The Stingray pulls away in the desert distance, and we see a young Jedi climbing atop the graveyard commercial sign for, like, circus burgers, while he stands with a Jedi butt crack and saggy American denim. Another hero shot for Mark Hamill here. Great shot, great location, like I said, and he cannot catch up with this Corvette. Back to our U-Haul loft, which is probably running about $2,380 on the West Coast, but it's just a U-Haul. We have access to a men's or women's restroom, and again, we meet Annie Potts as Vanessa. Her van rolls up, and we're about to get dark for just a moment. She has a raspberry eye and blood dripping from her lipstick-smeared lips and cheeks. It made me think of a Burt Reynolds movie. He has a female friend in the movie Heat. She plays a similar lazy place role for women, especially probably throughout the history of cinema, but just the lazy assignment to be a sex worker or sex worker light or sex worker peripheral type role. And in the movie with Burt Reynolds, he has been called to protect her, and when we see her and why she's directly calling him on protection, better makeup and better effect. That character and that movie looked very much roughed up. Annie Potts is doing a great job, and she's playing into the makeup here. She has been roughed up. She is a new coming sex worker up, I guess, on her own choice. No one's representing her, so to say, but she's working her way to a better income. That short of a conversation does happen with Kenny, and now we're seeing her come back. Happens to be where Kenny's staying for the night. But she has been roughed up, and we play it as smeared makeup. No sweat. No sweat. Kenny is there to support and help with standing in front of the men's door, and she gets cleaned up. Go ahead, get in my van. She follows, cleaned up and wearing just a towel, a yellow towel. They're both teens, high school graduates. What the hell? I don't know, but we're kind of playing, I guess like something like Pretty in Pink, where two people can, go at each other, hook up with each other, and we're just going along with the adventure. Although it's just, we're kind of in a dark place right now, and now the romance is filling this van, And both are so sweet-faced, it's hard to not buy into this. So, no sweat. No sweat. Staying here is better than writing a letter to your former coach teacher, car thief. What? Get in the van, Luke. Annie Potts is like dancing. The way she's moving around her living space in the back of the van, it's very sweet. And she is glowing after a gas station bathroom wash-up. Glow, girl, glow. He undoes his sneakers with his mouth, pulling the laces. She at one point has her wig and comb between her legs, which I thought was a funny gag to kind of keep the flirt going. They are sweet together, and again, it is tough to just not buy into this. And with the surrounding, or with the atmosphere she's got going in that van, I mean, it's just so damn colorful. Your eyes are pretty much like just glued to this scene. And but at the same time, thoughts are racing through my head. But I don't know. A better time, a better place, I guess, folks. They're sweet together. The next morning, they're discovered parked at the U-Haul. They argue, and you gotta really listen to this dialogue. They really just kind of go at each other like, I don't know, juvenile, sort of immaturely. It's like, wait, what? You didn't want to stay? I don't know. I'm not even gonna get into it. They just argue, and Kenny is tossed shirtless. He steams. The manager has sort of lurked up to this van, and he must be sort of the owner, manager, teacher, car thief of the U-Haul gas station or whatever we're at right now. And this manager is numero uno creepazoid. His sunglasses alone creep me out. He can be seen as Seinfeld parents during the first couple eps of Sign. He wants Kenny to fool people into additional faulty services, like upselling, but just fooling people. We see them spray painting batteries. I'm thinking this is archaic. I'm hoping this is archaic, but it was, of course, a trope or a sick trend of the time. Untrustworthy mechanics and such. It's also it's odd. He keeps spanking Kenny as a motivator to continue to fool folks. Gross. Let's get out of here. Up pulls Vanessa. She's got some hot info to pass along. Come on, get in. It beats running out of here. They become peas in a pod, and they both see the Corvette drive by. He runs! Runs! Hurry up, run! After it, she pulls up, not to miss another car opportunity. A car opportunity. Jump in! He jumps into the sliding door of Vanessa's van. We follow, however, we hit a light right in front of a stopped cruiser. Kenny slams his foot into hers in order to press the gas. And this was a wild chain of events. He sees the Corvette, jumps out of her van, or doesn't give her the moment to like allow him to be in the van. It's sort of a, impulse. He just, instead of getting into her van, he runs after the Corvette. She drives up against him and is like, get in. The door on her side is open. He jumps in. It's great. Stuntman just doing something really awesome. And they end up having to stop in front of police. And she knows that there are police just hanging out. She sees them, but Kenny does not. Kenny is fixed on this Corvette and is determined to move this van. So he presses his stinky ass, sneaker ass foot onto her. She's just wearing like heels or whatever, sandals. They don't go into it, but I'm like, yeah, ouch. We have to stop. Kenny shows the cops the photo of the vet, and in shorthand, the story of it being taken. Annie Potts is so patient. Let's call it in. Kenny wants to run. We stay in process. Kenny is getting depressed. They park for the night, drinking. Now get this. It looks to me like Sunny D and vodka, but I can easily inject that it's most likely what? Gas station orange juice and vodka. Repeat. Yuck. Kenny is still writing his coach teacher, and Vanessa is still interested in this sweaty, greasy Kenny. They kiss. Vanessa has kept the $2 bill. It's a $2 bill as a souvenir because it's from Kenny. When she asked him to be her first customer, we see that scene. I skipped over it because it was just a scene that's just going to pepper the rest of the movie like it is now. She's been sweet on him from the start, but she asked him to be the first customer, and she actually said, like, I'll give you one on the house. And I think he was like, I have this. Okay, that's sweet. And I have to accept her delivery. But let's hope she becomes the leading electric car dealer in the upper middle class Wisconsin somewhere, because Vegas is close to eating both of these kiddos alive in their current roles as cliches. Love is a many splendid thing. Kenny is seen singing out of the moonroof of her van. He is shirtless. I'm sure he's bottomless. Kenny has just had his eyes open to the open road of life. Coach, teacher, mechanic, instructor goes to see Kenny's mother. Again, this is just weird. She's a weird lady. She's a character that was written on a bar napkin. He's there to find the whereabouts of Kenny or just touch base, because I think he actually tells her, I heard he's in Vegas. And she's like, oh, he went to Las Vegas, as if he's Don Johnson or something. Don Bridges. Now as a valet, he assures mechanic, coach, teacher, bartender, undercover assassin, and possible jewel thief, that guy that teaches the class, he says, I am seeing a real gem of a lady, but don't worry, I like cars. He's been writing letters and or postcards, and that's a little bit of what he's been writing. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad you still like cars, dude. He walks around the tail of his Stingray to find our nemesis, and Brion James's boss. He is photography. I knew I would do that. I always say he is photographing. He is photographing a car in the street. Kenny walks up, compliments it, and then lays his sweaty, grubby hands on this guy's hood of a car. Hey, have you seen this sweet ride? Sicker than yours. Sicker than most. Hey kid, word of advice. If you run around and find car thieves, they may bury you out here. Kenny keeps walking. And maybe he should run, because I think he sees more that way, because he missed his car in this doofus's garage. The guy was out taking a photograph of, I don't know, like a black Camaro. But that's on the street outside of his home shop, which we find more out about this shop, and I think it's called Silverado. And inside this garage door open, Kenny walks past it, sort of like going to the other side of the street. He doesn't even look to his left to see metallic flecked cherry tomato, cherry mean machine he's been looking for. Keeps on walking, like I said. It's Friday night. I gotta work late. Out in Vanessa's van, he looks for his sweetie. First stop, a drive-through burger joint. We spare no expense here. There's a puppet-like ordering box, like no other I've seen. And it's sort of a female voice, and it's sort of a female face. And it's asking kindly with a radio Annie Potts voice function. Hey, Bumblebee, how about 2 bongo dogs and a cola? Because you know, guys, We need more cold colas in this movie. And please, let's take a break. Have a cold cola yourself. I'll wait. Great t-shirt movie here, by the way. Vanessa has been sporting some neat ones. And by the way, it is Vanessa. And it is Vanessa on the box. She said she'd be working late, and here she is. This is a great place to see every car that comes into town drives by here. What is this? In-N-Out? I mean, they don't give us too many names about the fast food burger joints and the cola joints and the, you know, we know about Silverado. I don't even know if we know about his school name, but we don't find out this joint's name. It'd be interesting. Hey, it could have been In-N-Out. I don't have all that info. But we're serving softball teams. We serve Dick Miller. But we always make the food before we get the cash. And that seemed oddly transparent. Laugh out loud. They continue to be cute together. Kenny was a little bit worried about her. He now works as a car detailer or car wash service employee. He's in a yellow jumpsuit, and here comes a gold version of his car. Details he sees. He has a coworker shining the interior and singing, and I like this guy. I could have used another scene for him. But basically, Kenny's like, hey, let me in this car. Get out of that car. This car is mine. Brion James, in all glory, he is like probably not in the prime of his career. I bet he is a gold mine for TV appearances, but I don't think he's hit his stride on blockbusters and being that general, being that second soldier, you know, behind Mel Gibson or something like that, or behind, I mean, I don't even know, like maybe an officer in the room that Tom Cruise is lecturing to or something. I don't think he's hit those roles yet, but he is just 1978 head to toe. He comes by saying he has a tip for both of you. Kenny is bringing the heat. Is that your car, buddy? I think you stole it. Brion James looks at this dude and is like, bye-bye. And he rings this car out, pulling away. Great shots. This is a 73 Stingray rebuilt Corvette. If you don't like cars, you at least have to see, look at this thing. And Brion James, or the stuntman in his shoes, gets to just burn this car out. And guess what Kenny does? He runs. Hurry up, run. And breaks a cyclist off his line. And the cyclist is left saying, I'm sorry. Jedi mind games. Now he is 10 speed chasing Brion James in a gold Corvette. So we're seeing a gold Corvette. We've been looking for the cherry tomato red, but it's gold now, or like a gold fleck, heavy gold fleck. He now becomes a skitcher, so I get my like little skitch moment here. But again, you know, McFly walked so that Kenny Wentworth Jr. could, and we swing car to Winnebago to Stingray door. Hey, you're stung, buddy. Pull over. I'll pull over you. He is left to chase again and is only a block or two away as he rolls past all the car thieves in the chop shop into a wall of tires. Wool. They have him in their clutches. And these are bad dudes, man. He is locked away in a shitty storeroom and such. Kenny thinks and starts a commotion of breaking his window. The henchman come into the dark room, sees no one in sight. He must have climbed out the window. The camera holds inside the storeroom as the henchman leaves. A bunch of shit falls over, and now we see emerge from an oil barrel our hero, Kenny Toretto, covered top to bottom, Zooks, T to B, in dark oil, like for a car. Mutant like sludging out of that warehouse storeroom versus a chain swinging henchman who looks like the bassist from MC5. Kenny is facing an oily punishment when headlights. Is it Captain Ron? Is it Dick Miller? No, it's Tico, Rico, and other friends in their lowriders. With lights bright, we dim and come back to Rico knocking on Vanessa's sliding door. Rico brings him to Vanessa. Buenos noches, doll. Are you Vanessa? We got your man. What? Kenny? Yuck. She is completely supportive after finding out he found the car. Don't look so GD depressed. You got him. And you did it all by yourself. It's okay, guys. If you have a tear come to your eye, I'm right there with you. I like this scene. I mean, these are two very young in their career, incredible actors. No matter what the role, they've done it better than me. They're together. They're feeling the flow. People are being paid. They're bringing it. She's with him. She's ready for bed or whatever. She's just ready for downtime. But she's helping him. And he doesn't collapse, but he lays on the ground. Oh, wait. I had it on wax. She was spraying him down with a handled hose in a car wash car bay. He is a bit overwhelmed and lays down, oil falling off of him. At the police, he's cleaned up, approaching the doors. Coach, teacher, puppy catcher has been waiting to talk to him. Let's talk. Bad news, guys. Some bad dudes. I know what's going on. You gotta stop looking into that car, or I lose money, and you could lose your life. This guy's a former student, class of 71. The Stingray is a 73. The movie is released in 78. We are now at Joe Pesci's desert wasteland, just outside the city of Scorsese's casino. A Scorsese Clapton whammy bar score is playing off as if from a space-aged Sony keyboard to come in 81. You gotta tell me, you will quit and I will hit my reds and we both can continue living with this guy over our shoulders? Bad dudes, bad news is gonna bury you where we stand. He hits his red brake lights. We go to black. Kenny is in Vanessa's van alone. Kenny shows up late for work. This intro with the car thief, now his new boss. It's past 9:30 a.m. I love West Coast time. Why start working before 9 in the morning? Meet a guy who I sped past this. He does make it there. I guess on my time. He makes it there past 9:30. After a sly look, he's like, I'm here to work. And this car thief, class of 71, hey guys, come meet a guy who knows what cars are all about. Remember that 700 a week? Not enough. 850. First week in advance. 850 a week. So I did the math, and we're up to, even if he took that 700 a week, he's up to well past $69,000. At one moment, coach teacher mentions he makes, I think it was like 15 grand a year, some figure like that. And I looked up the inflation on that, and he's making like $69,000 a year. And I then did the math on this, and Kenny is going to make over $100,000 a year detailing and rebuilding cars, custom cars for special people. And at $850 a week, he is well past $100,000 a year in inflation if he was doing that now. And no hesitation, make him pay what you are worth. They hand him the cash, that $850 in advance. Cash in hand. A mean-looking car boss walks into the screen. He ain't no Johnny Cash. He ain't no Johnny Cash. He ain't no Johnny Cash. I once heard, using a library computer, hearing from someone also using a library computer just a few chairs away. He ain't no Johnny Cash. Is it 1980s Sunglass Sinatra or Joe Piscopo? I'll hold while you Google that garbage. Vanessa is throwing garbage away in a dumpster, a la Luke's Black Jedi fit. Kenny is boss in some shades, driving gloves, and a bat black roadster, coming to see his pal Vanessa. He takes her shopping. She gets to wear some lovely things and an improvement to both of them. However, very 70s fits. You didn't pay for this with a $2 bill. Doing custom work, custom cars for special people. He repeats some bullshit about things like cars can be bought and sold like anything else, a topic she has been grappling with since before we met. So, take a moment to think about what Vanessa's doing here, and she gets to meet him, and at one point there's an argument, it's like he's making the wrong decision, sort of in retro. It's like he's trying to gain footing with a move from the past, and he hasn't caught up to learn from his mistakes as being sort of shown by this incredible new match or partner for both of them, really. But we're going to follow Kenny because it's a movie in 1978, and we can only focus on so many people. But Annie Potts killing it as Vanessa, and Vanessa is killing it out there, working the streets at some point in some way. For special people, I guess. They're both custom specialists. She obviously is pretty, I think, instantly brokenhearted, but, she really likes him, and we see his potential. I mean, he's got so much potential. He's just been running towards this damn Corvette the whole movie, so it's tough to show through when even he's looking towards another goal than maybe what's right in front of their faces. So, with the mistake of he insists on paying for a night with her, scriptwriter has left the building and drove down to their local watering hole. This script has trash moments, including Vanessa selling her wheels to some dad bod, wanting her name taken off the van. Again, Kenny is riled up. Kenny rolls to the burger joint. Vanessa found a better deal. Vanessa is in her best LBD at a table in some casino somewhere, playing her part in her own goal. She's an independent woman, with Kenny pushing toward them, staying together. She is taking his hint to go for her best opportunity to make money with her resources. They are both blowing each other off, and the skis ball has nothing good to say. Kenny, back at the garage, is letting off some steam, pounding out dents. After hours, Kenny stays focused. Mark Hammil is going ham, pounding out dents. Mark Hammil. He paints over the gold of the flip-flop stolen Stingray. We are back to tomato cherry, cherry tomato. The following morning, Brion James sees the vet in the garage, and a tussle of wrench versus chains ensues. In the paint bay, dude gets sprayed. MC5 gets cherry tomato airbrush to the face. Huffing metal fleck is no good. Kenny, now piloting the tomato vet, run, hurry up, runs to a hotel to find a film crew shooting in the bathroom. Vanessa is posed in the tub, surrounded by bubble bath, wearing a slimming scuba fit complete with flipper accessory. Our hero is here to take her away. Take me away. A bunch of promo material has Annie Potts in this outfit, so it must have been sensational at the time. She is not wanting to leave, so it makes it very uncomfortable. She wants to make her money, is what I think she's saying. You are making a dirty movie. It was not a movie. It was a short. Now headed to Los Angeles, his nemesis, the car thief, is in hot pursuit. But they are together in this car, and it's pretty sweet. I don't know why she didn't want to go. I think she was reading the script, and I think also we're just supposed to know that she was like, no, do you really want me to go? Because I want to stay. And he's like, pulling her. And she's like, because I want to stay. And he's like, pulling her. And she's like, because I want to stay. And he's like, pulling her. And now they're in the car together. But she likes him the whole movie. So fast forward your VHS just a little bit. And here we are. The scenery is gorgeous desert with a gorgeous desert blue sky, and we are on open road. Lots of good wheelies, and Kenny is aggressive, attempting to lose him and missing the freeway. He makes a cut through another way. Our first gun makes an appearance and takes out the passenger window, and we have now made it to a quarry. So my whole talk about movies set in dusty, deserted middle American West. We're seeing it. We're in a quarry now, a movie that I'm going to bring up, and on the low, I end up watching a bunch now that it's a little bit more available with the internet and all. Nothing to Lose with Martin Lawrence and Tim Robbins. More to come on that, but at one point, and that's a car-based movie for the most part, and at one point they are meeting bad dudes in a quarry, or quarry-like scene. And I mentioned Nope, and we watched Don't Worry Darling, and we were talking about Wes Anderson's new release. A lot of desert tones, sun bleach, wind, wind dried, wind worn, earth colors just shooting out. And the tomato Corvette is just beautifully, or kind of, it's also like buffed down because of it, it's just covered in sand and sand soot, and it's like splattered and scattered. And of course, they've done different scenes, different variations, so we kind of see this different scattering and covering, and like I said, it actually kind of buffs it all out. So it either kind of looks cool, or you're like, hey, where's this cherry tomato red Corvette at? But in all honesty, it is kind of a nice texture to just see this scattering of sand soot. They're in Las Vegas somewhere, right? And this whole time, Vanessa, again, is reading these lines. She's got odd lines about thinking he is just trying to scare her. Paired that with, I don't want to leave the casino dressed in a scuba outfit, after we see her look incredible in a breakfast at Tiffany's black dress. I mean, I get why you wouldn't want to leave the casino if you are balling out of control, but she was there to be purchased and be a service, not like a cigarette dispensing, you know, glamorous attendant. You know, she was there as a streetwalker, maybe a classy escort, but I'm reading the lines and I'm like, okay, so now you think he's scaring you or trying to scare you? So she's sort of laughing and playing it off. It's obviously a coping mechanism, but that's not really written into the script. I don't know. Let's drink our cola and enjoy a car movie. We wind our way back to some open road, kicking up dust, giving a motherfuck, aerial shots, no drones here. Ryan Stanger may appreciate that. Action, boys. Freeway is under construction. Kenny hits a dead end, and we square off to play chicken. Car thief flips his car over the other side, and Kenny continues, passed away. This is like a short segment. They really do come at each other, but this is not like Fast and the Furious, and this is not like Mad Max, and this is not like Don't Worry Darling even. This is very quick, a little bit of tension, ultimately does flip the car. That's rad. That's on film. And now we see our car thief leaning against a medium, and he is holding up a gun. He's not going to take his own life. He's going to take the cruiser out, and with one shot and some pyrotech, thanks stunt coordinators, kablooey. Back at a San Fernando Community College, question mark? Back in LA County, I guess. The car is covered in desert dust, like I said. Kenny comes into the school, hits the fire alarm. Mr. Shoop and others exit into the student courtyard. Coach, teacher, creepazoid, some sort of principal. Kenny hands the principals the keys and says, I found it. Coach teacher is sort of like lurking, he's mouth breathing. Kenny is like, I'd like my diploma. And it's actually kind of a mumbled line, so I mean, you know, they're just, hey kids, stay in school. Vanessa starts to walk away. Kenny says she has a funny walk. Vanessa wants to hit him with a cola cooler as a purse. And Kenny charms his best to get a kiss and lasting embrace from Annie Potts playing Vanessa. The guys are washing the vet. Roll credits. Wash that vet. Keep those credits rolling. We are not rolling out of here. We are not running. Shine on, you crazy street machine. Please be kind. Rewind.